I would like to welcome to the stage Project Connect Senior, Eli Roebuck. If you would all remain standing, and gentlemen, please remove your hats as Eli will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Welcome to the Project Connect Graduation Recognition Ceremony. My name is Alan Cook, and I am honored to serve as the Project Connect principal. None of us would be here today without the sacrifice and service of people who do not get enough credit for what they do for our students. At this time, I would like to recognize a great number of those people. On stage with me this afternoon, Campus Director, Mrs. Jenny Crosland. Project Connect Instructor, Mrs. Lauren Thacker. Mrs. Sunny Williamson. And Mr. Chad Dietrich. In the audience today, our Superintendent, Dr. Gayla Lutz, our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. James White, our Project Connect Counselor, Mrs. Christy Stevens, Canadian Valley Counselors, Mrs. Deborah Booth, Mrs. Carrie Stomprud, Mrs. Jennifer Davis, and our embedded counselors, Miss Melissa Johnson and Miss Brandy Bird. Also with us today, our Canadian Valley El Reno Campus LPC, Mrs. Lauren Squires. Assistant Campus Director, Mr. Brandon Carey. Student Services Director, Dr. Josh Shandy. Our Marketing Department, led by Kathy Knox. Also with Mr. Bill Kramer, Mrs. Alexis Graham, Mrs. Katie Vogelai, Mrs. Sierra Campbell, and Mr. Ned Wilson. Some special guests today, Project Connect retirees, Mrs. Megan Paddock and Mrs. Charlotte Wakefield. I would also like to recognize two sending school counselors representing UConn today, Mrs. Savannah Derrickson and Mrs. Stephanie Dorton. I'm almost there, I promise. We could not have put this program together without the help of some very important people. Our Instructional Services Department, Mrs. Michelle Thomas, created the programs for us. Our digital media students, under the direction of Miss Afton Jameson, took much of the photography that you see in the room today and have prepared our slideshow. Our graphic design students, under the leadership of Mr. Mark Pennington, completed the composite class photos that your students will have when they leave. And Mrs. Chris Ulmer and Mrs. Paula Hall and their service career students did the flowers for today's event. We'd like to thank the Biz Department, specifically Mrs. Kim Adams, Mrs. Evan Elliott, and Mrs. Carrington Buser for the work that they did in setting up this venue. Mrs. Judy Putnam and her staff for the refreshments. And last but not least, parents and family, thank you. This day is for you. At this time, I would like to invite our campus director, Mrs. Jenny Crosland, to the podium.
Graduates, Congratulations on your accomplishments. I want you to take a moment to look at your hands. In one hand, you have your high school diploma, and in the other hand, you have your CV Tech diploma. Each represents hard work, challenges, maybe a few tears, but most of all, success. Your dedication to fulfill requirements for both programs set you apart as you determine the next steps in your life. You are achievers. Now is the time to take charge of your steps as you move forward. You have the tools and resources to step forward into new opportunities. It will not come without continued hard work and dedication. As your instructors have invested in you to reach this momentous occasion, I charge you to do the same. Go forth into the world with integrity as you walk the path before you. And to quote Woody from Toy Story, reach for the sky. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Mrs. Sunny Williamson, as she will recognize students who have earned special honors this year.
If you guys would just stand and then be seated after I call your name so everybody can see who you are, okay? We would like to recognize our graduates that got Student of the Quarter. We have Jackson Bray Patterson for Project Connect. Autumn Bridgers, sorry, Autumn, Project Connect. Justin Dillon, Construction Trades. Ashlyn Ellinger, Project Connect. Sorry. Kennedy Featherston, Project Connect. Tay Hope, Project Connect. Alicia Snyder, Project Connect. Corbin Urban, Project Connect. And Lucas Womble, Industrial Automation. Next, we'd just like to recognize our students that were completers in their programs. Jackson Bray for welding. Lane Carter, welding. Kennedy Featherston in graphic design. Tay Hope, health careers. Logan Parker, graphic design. Braden Richardson, construction trades. Mario Robinson, auto collision. Elijah Roebuck, electrical trades. Corbin Urban, welding. Haley Watt, in cosmetology. Now I'll hand it over to Ms. Thacker.
All right. I'd like to present a couple of awards to two very special Project Connect students now. So we're going to give out our awards for Outstanding Student and Student of the Year. So first, if I could please have Alicia Schneider come join me on stage, that would be great. Okay. All right. During her time in Project Connect, Alicia was often the first one in class, the first student working, and the most focused individual in the room. As a woman of few words, she has a quiet strength about her. Others follow her example, and her leadership stems from authentic respect. One of the most beautiful things about Alicia is how dedicated she is to the life she hopes to create. Even after setbacks, some beyond her control, she has never lost sight of her goals. Alicia impressed all of us with her focus and dedication, and we knew very quickly that she was destined for success. We are proud to call you a Project Connect graduate. Please join me in congratulating Alicia Snyder for earning Project Connect's Outstanding Student Award. All right, next, if I could please have Ms. Tay Hope up here with me. She gonna mad at me for this one. All right, Tay Hope. When Tay joined Project Connect in August, she had a taxing battle ahead of her. What she hoped to accomplish would be a struggle for even the most accomplished scholar. But if you've ever met Tay, you know she does not consider failure an option. In fact, any obstacles standing in her way are not safe. She's a force to be reckoned with. But beneath her tough exterior and dauntless spirit, she has a heart of gold and a warmth that radiates to those around her, even when she tries to hold it in. Tay is bright, empathetic, kind-hearted, resilient, and courageous. Hard work doesn't scare her, and neither does standing up for herself and what's right. When she heads to college in the fall, we are confident that she'll thrive. Tay, we all feel very lucky to have been part of your story. Please join me in congratulating Tay Hope for earning Project Connect's Student of the Year Award.
Project Connect is an attempt to create an environment that allows students to overcome barriers standing between them and their education. Our senior speaker today is a young lady who has done the hard work of identifying ways that she could grow and take accountability for her own education. The work she has done is the reason that she will stand before you today. I would now like to welcome Ms. Kennedy Featherston to the podium.
Welcome to Project Connect's graduation ceremony. As many of you know, my name is Kennedy Featherston. A few years ago, I didn't really think I was going to make it this far, but here we are. I also didn't think I'd be giving a speech at graduation, but yet again, here we are. I'd like to thank all of you for coming to celebrate this next step into our lives. I would also like to thank all of the wonderful people who made this happen. I would also like to thank my younger self in an odd way for getting me here. My freshman year, I didn't really make the best decisions. On top of that, my family was going through some personal struggles, and I found myself in a very difficult place. I decided I didn't want to go back to high school, and my counselor gave me an idea to apply to Project Connect. And I really didn't think I was going to get in, but like I said at the beginning, here we are. My first year in Project Connect, I struggled a little bit, but after I learned to make meaningful relationships and focus on myself instead of others, things started to look up. I was thoroughly helped by Mrs. Thacker with my communication skills. I was also able to get the help I needed from Mr. Dietrich and Mrs. Williamson. I appreciate Mrs. Williamson for being patient with me and helping me through my math and understanding it. I thank Mr. Dietrich for helping me navigate the reading sections in my history class. I do, however, loathe him for making me go through government. Last year ended up great, but this year was even better. I made all of my best friends. I have a steady job, and I even finished my high school courses early. It was also easier to focus on myself rather than other people. In graphic design, along with technical skills, I learned how to be professional with people by participating in Skills USA. I was also able to practice public speaking. I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Pennington and thank him for his help. A lot of students struggle to focus on themselves, but they talk about how they want to finish their schoolwork and graduate early. I have 3 pieces of advice for those currently in Project Connect. My first is just focus on yourself. Don't worry about other people, and don't let the negative people affect your life. Along those same lines, my second piece of advice is don't be afraid to walk away from negative relationships. I know everybody in this program has a good heart, but if you don't get along with someone, don't let that affect your life. My last piece of advice, short and simple, just forget the drama. It won't matter in a few years, maybe next year, or maybe even tomorrow. But today, let's get dramatic because we're graduating. Congrats to Project Connect graduates of 2024.
Thank you, Kennedy. Seniors, at this time, please stand and take your place beside the stage. We would like Ms. Crosland, Campus Director, to join us in front of the podium in the receiving line as we pass out student completion certificates. We would like to welcome Mr. Dietrich to the podium to announce our graduates.
All right, family, friends, staff, Classmates, it is my honor to introduce to you our graduates as they receive their empty diploma case. First up, Jackson Bray Patterson. Autumn Bridgers. Lane Carter. Charlie Cruz. Felix Dennis. Justin Dillon. Ashlyn Ellingson. Kennedy Featherston. Jacob Hooper. Tay Hope. Logan Parker. Renee Pena. Braden Richardson. Mario Robinson. Elijah Roebuck. Alicia Snyder. Corbin Urban. Haley Watt. And Lucas Womble. Congratulations, graduates.
This past weekend, I should say, Duke University held their 2024 commencement exercises. Normally, this would not be something we would discuss here, but it turns out that the comedian Jerry Seinfeld was the commencement speaker. And if you've not heard what he had to say, I would honestly recommend taking some time outside of this event to watch his remarks in full. But at the end of his address, he talked about something that really struck a chord with what we deal with on a daily basis, not only at Canadian Valley, but specifically within Project Connect. And he spoke about the idea to graduates of focusing their efforts on becoming and not of having. And he spoke very briefly and very poignantly about the idea that if all of us, but especially those of us who are freshly accomplished and are entering into the next part of our life, would focus on what we want to become, how we want to grow, how we want to develop, the people that we want to be. If we would focus our efforts on character and becoming versus focusing our efforts on having or collecting, be that money or titles or material good, that what we would find in the end is that we would have lived a life and we would have served a career of value. A career that not only was able to help us continue to grow and develop as individuals, but one that was able to impact the world and those around us positively because of its service. And I will admit, for a brief moment, I didn't give you guys enough credit because I scratched talking about that today. I decided that a group of 18, 19-year-old newly graduated students would not want to hear the old man talk about becoming and growing versus earning. But then it dawned on me very quickly and very simply that each of you has already become. And when you leave here, if you will apply the same ethic, the same attitude, the same mindset to becoming whatever it is that is next for you, that you applied within these walls, you will undoubtedly be as successful in the real world as you were in this one. It is my hope for you, and it is our charge to you as graduates, that as you leave here today, you do it with pride, you do it with excitement, you do it with enthusiasm, and you do it with a great pursuit of becoming that which you are capable of being. And that you know, if you do those things, that you will be successful, and all of the trappings of success will have come with that. Graduates, please stand. Family, friends, faculty, staff, honored guests, and students, I am honored to present Canadian Valley Technology Center Project Connect graduating class of 2024. Graduates, you may move your tassel. We would like to thank all of you for coming today. This concludes the official ceremonies. At this time, please stay and join us in the back of our seminar center for refreshments, photographs, and memories with your students. Thank you very much. Ooh.